Joseph Duggar has formally pleaded not guilty to allegations of molestation, according to recent reports. The case, still in its early stages, is already generating intense discussion both in the media and among followers of the Duggar family. For those unfamiliar, Joseph Duggar is known as a member of the Duggar family, who rose to fame through reality television, particularly for their appearances on shows that documented their large household and conservative lifestyle. Over the years, the family has often been in the public eye, sometimes for controversial reasons. Now, this latest situation has once again placed the family under scrutiny. According to initial headlines and emerging reports, Joseph Duggar appeared in court where he entered a plea of not guilty in response to serious allegations of inappropriate conduct. It is important to note that at this stage these are allegations, and the legal process is still ongoing. No verdict has been reached, and the case will proceed through the judicial system. Following his court appearance, Duggar was reportedly allowed to return home, which suggests that the court did not deem him an immediate flight risk or danger requiring detention at this time. Legal experts often point out that such decisions can depend on multiple factors, including prior record, ties to the community, and the nature of the charges. As news of the plea spread, reactions began to pour in across social media platforms. Supporters of Duggar have urged the public to respect the legal principle of innocent until proven guilty, while critics have expressed concern over the seriousness of the allegations and the broader pattern of controversies associated with the Duggar family. This is not the first time the Duggar name has been linked to troubling headlines. In past years, other members of the family have faced legal issues that drew significant media coverage, shaping public perception and raising ongoing questions about accountability and transparency within the family. At this point, however, the focus remains squarely on Joseph Duggar and the case at hand. Legal analysts emphasize that a not guilty plea is a standard response in criminal cases and does not necessarily indicate the outcome. Instead, it sets the stage for further legal proceedings, including potential hearings, evidence presentation, and possibly a trial. Authorities have not yet released full details of the allegations, and much of the information currently circulating comes from preliminary reports. As such, caution is being advised when interpreting early coverage, as facts may evolve as the investigation continues. Meanwhile, Duggar's legal team is expected to prepare a defense, which could include challenging the credibility of the allegations, presenting counter-evidence, or seeking dismissal depending on how the case develops. The coming weeks are likely to be critical in determining how this story unfolds. For now, the situation remains fluid, with many unanswered questions. What exactly are the details behind the allegations? What evidence, if any, will be presented? And how will the court ultimately rule? As the case involving Joseph Duggar continues to unfold, attention is now shifting toward what happens next inside the legal system, and what this could mean for both the accused and the broader public narrative. After entering a not guilty plea, the legal process typically moves into a more detailed phase. This includes pretrial procedures where both the prosecution and the defense begin building their respective cases. During this time, investigators may gather additional evidence, interview witnesses, and review any materials that could be presented in court. Legal experts note that this stage can be lengthy and complex. It often involves motions filed by attorneys on both sides, requests that may seek to admit or exclude certain pieces of evidence, delay proceedings, or even dismiss charges under specific circumstances. In cases involving serious allegations like molestation, the prosecution's role is to establish that a crime occurred and that the accused is responsible, beyond a reasonable doubt. This burden of proof is high, reflecting the seriousness of criminal convictions and the potential consequences involved. On the other side, the defense team representing Duggar is expected to challenge the claims rigorously. This could involve questioning inconsistencies in testimony, highlighting lack of physical evidence, or presenting alternative interpretations of the events in question. Another critical aspect of this phase is the potential for bail conditions or restrictions. Although Duggar has reportedly been allowed to return home, courts sometimes impose specific rules, such as limited travel, no contact orders, or regular check-ins, to ensure compliance while the case proceeds. Public interest in the case remains intense. Media outlets continue to follow developments closely, while discussions online reflect a divided audience. Some individuals emphasize due process and caution against premature judgment, while others stress the importance of taking allegations seriously and ensuring accountability. The Duggar family, long associated with public visibility, now faces renewed scrutiny. Their past controversies are once again being referenced in discussions, shaping how audiences interpret the current situation. For some, this history raises concerns. For others, it reinforces the need to evaluate this case independently based on evidence alone. Beyond the individuals directly involved, the case also highlights broader societal issues. Allegations of this nature often spark conversations about victim protection, legal fairness, and the role of public opinion in high-profile cases. Advocacy groups frequently point out that such cases can be difficult to navigate, both legally and emotionally. They stress the importance of creating an environment where allegations are taken seriously, while also upholding the fundamental rights of the accused. As the investigation progresses, more concrete information is expected to emerge. Court documents, official statements, and verified reports will play a key role in clarifying the situation and separating confirmed facts from speculation. For now, the timeline remains uncertain. Pre-trial hearings could be scheduled in the coming weeks or months, depending on how quickly both sides prepare and how the court manages its docket. One thing is clear. The outcome of this case will depend heavily on the evidence presented and the arguments made in court. As the legal proceedings involving Joseph Duggar move forward, the focus now turns to the potential outcomes and the broader implications this case may carry. If the case proceeds to trial, both the prosecution and defense will present their arguments before a judge or jury. This phase is often the most निर्णायक, where evidence is examined in detail, witnesses may testify under oath, and both sides attempt to establish their version of events. For the prosecution, success depends on proving the allegations beyond a reasonable doubt. This could involve testimony, documented evidence, or expert analysis. In contrast, the defense's role is to introduce doubt, challenging the reliability and consistency of the claims made against Duggar. Legal analysts frequently emphasize that not guilty pleas are common and form a standard part of the judicial process. The plea itself does not determine innocence or guilt. It simply ensures that the case is fully examined in court. There are several possible outcomes. If the court finds insufficient evidence, charges could be reduced or dismissed. If the case goes to verdict and Duggar is found not guilty, he would be legally cleared of the accusations. However, if found guilty, the consequences could include significant legal penalties, depending on the severity of the charges and applicable laws. Another possibility is that the case could be resolved before reaching trial. In some instances, legal teams may negotiate agreements or settlements, although whether that occurs depends entirely on the specifics of the case and the decisions made by both parties. Outside the courtroom, the impact of the case continues to ripple. Public figures often face lasting reputational consequences, regardless of legal outcomes. For someone like Joseph Duggar, whose family has been closely tied to media exposure, the stakes extend beyond legal judgment into the realm of public perception. The Duggar family itself remains under scrutiny. Past controversies involving other members have shaped how audiences interpret new developments, and this case is no exception. For some observers, it reinforces existing concerns. For others, it highlights the importance of evaluating each situation individually. This case also underscores a broader issue: the balance between public interest and responsible reporting. In high-profile allegations, media coverage can influence public opinion long before a court reaches a conclusion. That is why many experts stress the importance of relying on verified information and allowing the legal process to unfold without interference. At the same time, conversations around accountability, justice, and victim protection remain central. Cases like this often serve as reminders of how complex and sensitive such issues can be, requiring careful handling from both legal authorities and the public. As of now, many details remain unclear, and the full picture has yet to emerge. Future court dates, official filings, and verified updates will be crucial in determining the direction of the case. Until then, the story remains ongoing. What began as a headline has now evolved into a closely watched legal battle. one that will ultimately be decided not by speculation, but by evidence, law, and the judicial process. In a shocking headline that has begun circulating across online platforms, Joseph Duggar, known from the reality television series 19 Kids and Counting, is being accused in reports of alleged misconduct involving a minor. At this stage, it is important to clearly state that these claims are based on emerging and unverified reports, and no official confirmation or court verdict has established the allegations as fact. The situation remains unclear and details are still developing. Joseph Duggar is part of the widely recognized Duggar family, who gained national attention through their long-running television appearances that showcased their large household and deeply religious lifestyle. Over the years, the family has built a significant public following, while also facing periods of controversy that have kept them in the spotlight. Now, this latest headline has once again brought intense attention to the family name. According to early discussions online, allegations have surfaced accusing Duggar of inappropriate conduct involving a child. However, as of now, there has been no widely confirmed official statement from law enforcement authorities or verified court documentation publicly detailing the claims. This lack of confirmed information has created a wave of speculation. Social media platforms in particular have seen a rapid spread of opinions, reactions, and assumptions, many of which remain unverified. Legal experts often warn about the risks of drawing conclusions too early in such situations. Allegations, especially serious ones, require thorough investigation, and the legal system is designed to carefully examine evidence before reaching any determination. At the same time, cases involving accusations of this nature tend to generate strong emotional responses. Public concern is often immediate, especially when the allegations involve a minor. Advocacy groups consistently stress the importance of taking such claims seriously, while also ensuring that due process is respected. As the story begins to gain traction, media outlets are approaching the situation cautiously. Responsible reporting typically avoids presenting unverified claims as established facts, particularly in sensitive cases like this. For now, there are several key questions that remain unanswered. Has any formal complaint been filed? Are authorities actively investigating? And will there be an official statement clarifying the situation? Until these questions are addressed through confirmed sources, much of what is being discussed remains speculative. Meanwhile, the Duggar family's history with public controversy is once again being brought into conversation. Previous incidents involving other members have shaped public perception, which may influence how audiences react to new, even unverified allegations. Still, experts emphasize that each situation must be evaluated independently, based on credible evidence and official findings, not assumptions or past associations. As this story continues to unfold, attention will likely shift toward obtaining verified information. Whether through official reports, legal filings, or statements from involved parties, clarity will be essential in understanding the truth behind the headline. As the story surrounding Joseph Duggar continues to circulate, attention is increasingly turning toward verification: what is confirmed, what is rumor, and what may come next if formal action is taken. At this point, one of the most critical aspects of this situation is the absence of clearly established official details. In cases involving serious accusations, confirmation typically comes through law enforcement statements, court filings, or credible investigative reporting. Without these, information remains uncertain and must be treated with caution. If such allegations were to move into the legal system, the process would follow a structured path. Authorities would first determine whether there is sufficient evidence to open a formal investigation. This could involve interviews, evidence collection, and coordination with legal professionals trained to handle sensitive cases involving minors. Should a case be formally filed, it would then proceed through the judicial system. This includes initial hearings where charges, if any, are presented, and the accused is given the opportunity to respond. A plea would be entered at this stage, often not guilty, which is standard and allows the case to proceed to further examination. Legal professionals emphasize that investigations of this nature are often complex and require careful handling. Protecting the rights of all parties involved, including the alleged victim and the accused, is a key priority within the justice system. At the same time, public reaction continues to grow. Online discussions have expanded rapidly, with some users expressing concern and others questioning the credibility of the reports. This split reaction highlights a recurring issue in the digital age: how quickly unverified information can spread, and how difficult it can be to separate fact from speculation. The association with 19 kids and counting adds another layer to the situation. Because the Duggar family has been in the public eye for years, any new headline, whether confirmed or not, tends to attract immediate and widespread attention. Media analysts point out that public figures often face a different level of scrutiny compared to private individuals. Even unverified claims can gain traction quickly, sometimes shaping public opinion before facts are fully established. This is why many experts urge caution. Jumping to conclusions without verified evidence can lead to misinformation, reputational harm, and confusion about what is actually known. Meanwhile, advocacy voices continue to stress an important balance. Allegations involving minors should always be taken seriously and investigated thoroughly, but conclusions should only be drawn once credible evidence has been examined through proper legal channels. If authorities do become involved, more concrete details would likely emerge over time. Official documents, statements, and court proceedings would provide a clearer picture of the situation and help move the conversation from speculation to verified fact. Until then, the story remains in a developing phase, one defined more by questions than answers. As the situation involving Joseph Duggar continues to develop, the focus now shifts toward what could happen next, and how stories like this ultimately reach resolution. If credible evidence emerges and authorities decide to move forward, the case could formally enter the legal system. At that point, investigators and prosecutors would play a central role in determining whether charges are appropriate based on the available facts. In such scenarios, court proceedings become the primary source of truth. Hearings, testimonies, and documented evidence would be examined carefully, with both sides given the opportunity to present their arguments. This process is designed to ensure fairness, accuracy, and accountability. For the accused, legal representation would work to challenge any claims made, while the prosecution would aim to establish the validity of the allegations. The outcome would ultimately depend on the strength and credibility of the evidence presented. However, it is equally important to emphasize that, as of now, no confirmed legal outcome or official ruling has established these allegations as fact. The situation remains unverified, and responsible coverage requires acknowledging that uncertainty. Beyond the courtroom, the impact of such headlines can be significant, especially for public figures connected to well-known media platforms like 19 Kids and Counting. Even in the absence of confirmed findings, reputational consequences can unfold quickly, influenced by public perception and ongoing discussion. The Duggar family name, already familiar to audiences, adds to the intensity of the spotlight. Past controversies involving the family often resurface during new developments, shaping how people interpret unfolding stories. Yet, experts continue to stress that each situation must be judged independently, based on verified facts rather than assumptions. This case also reflects a broader challenge in today's media environment: the speed at which information spreads. Social media platforms can amplify claims rapidly, sometimes outpacing the ability of authorities or journalists to confirm details. As a result, misinformation can become intertwined with genuine reporting. For viewers and audiences, this highlights the importance of critical thinking. Relying on credible sources, waiting for official statements, and avoiding premature conclusions are all essential in understanding complex situations like this. At the same time, conversations around justice, accountability, and protection remain central. Allegations involving minors are among the most serious and sensitive, requiring careful, respectful, and thorough handling by both legal institutions and the media. As more information becomes available, whether through official investigations, statements, or verified reports, the picture will become clearer. Until then, the story remains ongoing, with many details still unknown. In the end, what began as a headline has evolved into a developing situation that demands patience, responsibility, and attention to verified facts. The final outcome, whatever it may be, will depend not on speculation but on evidence, due process, and the rule of law.